Hello, we are the Salon Sleuths. My name is Melissa,
And my name is Leslie.
and we are two women from the Pacific Northwest. We are both curious about paranormals, spirit guides, ghosts, past lives.
We are suspicious about true crime, disappearances, and strange phenomenons. We are open to learning about the supernatural and all things we don't understand.
Together, we're opinionated with a splash of smartass. Join us to learn. And stay curious, stay suspicious, and stay open.
Follow Salon Sleuths on all major podcast platforms. So,
Hello, Salon Sleuth fans. And Leslie, how are you?
I'm doing swell, Melissa.
Yay!
You were
Yay!
gone last week. We missed you.
I know, I'm sorry. I was off exploring the Oregon coast from the top to the bottom. We went all the way
Ooh,
from Astoria all the way to Brookings.
wow. That's a
Yeah.
windy road, isn't it?
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Oh my gosh. And we got to Astoria, we stopped and had a bite to eat, and the kind of fog kind of came in, and we were like, oh, okay, we'll get out of here. And then because that wasn't our first stop for the night. And as we headed south, it got sunny again. And so we just kind of kept like running in front of the weather. And then by the time we got to Roseburg, it started to sprinkle that evening when we stayed there. So it was we kind of just, felt like we were escaping the weather the whole time. It was kind of nice.
You passed that cliffside of that one story that we did.
I know. And I will tell you that
So
it's
Eric survived it. You didn't go do a
yeah,
reenactment.
exactly. We didn't do a reenactment, and it's not a very small place, or not a very big place. It's a
Yeah.
very small town. It's like, maybe a stoplight. I mean, I don't even think there's a stoplight there. Probably it just probably is like a couple stores, or not even stores, like
Isn't it
buildings.
just like a parking lot and a hike?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Oh, the
the
cliffside part.
cliffside
Yeah.
part, yeah.
I thought you meant like the town area. Yeah. Yeah, so all along there, just tiny little spots that we hadn't seen. I'd been to Gold Beach, so I had been through Coos Bay and North Bend and Bandon, but beyond Gold Beach on, I had never been to. And then there was a stretch like before we got to Bandon that I had never been in, a little stretch. So yeah, it
And
was
I
really
saw your
nice.
picture from Beverly Beach. That's one of our favorites. I
Oh
love
my
that.
gosh.
Yeah, that's where the Werthers stay a lot.
Oh my gosh, that was my favorite stop. That bridge. So for those of you that don't know, the let's see, it's not an
How
I.
does the
It's
ocean not go in there?
I know it's 101
And
goes.
you would die if there was an earthquake. Just so you know, that would be like the worst place to be.
Well, I don't think so because I wasn't staying under the bridge. You're having a coughing fit. Are you
Sorry,
okay?
that's me. I tried to put it on mute. I didn't make it.
She doesn't have COVID. It's okay. She's been tested.
It's just this terrible cough. I don't know. I've had it for 2.5 weeks, and my doctor told me if it doesn't go away in a month, give me a call back.
Oh,
A month?
oh my
Really?
gosh.
Okay.
Jeez Louise. Well, Beverly Beach is gorgeous for those of you that
You
want to
can
see
find
pictures
lots
of
of
it.
fossils there.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the rocks. I actually brought a few home. I know, I don't know if that's legal, but I did it anyways. And you stay in this campground that looks through the bridge that 101 goes over. So everybody that's going along the beach is going over this bridge, but the bridge has this nice arch and you look out on the sunset. Oh my gosh, it was
It's so
gorgeous.
pretty.
It's
Yeah, and
so
you
pretty.
walk right underneath the bridge into the
Yes.
ocean. Like, I don't know how the ocean doesn't come up into the campground. It
Well,
never does.
the reason is, well, if there's a tsunami, it might, but the reason is because that's where a river inlet is. That's where the
Mm.
water's coming out. So there's a bridge over that little inlet that's going into the ocean. So that is why the ocean does not come into it. But
Super
we
cool.
also saw the Devil's Churn. Have you heard of
Mm.
that?
Well, I've heard of the Devil's Punch Bowl. I don't know if I've heard of the Churn.
I have heard of the Devil's Punch Bowl, and I'm not sure what that is either, but it was just amazing. We saw so many cool little spots that we just hadn't explored before. We stopped at a couple lighthouses, and it was really super cool. So yeah, it was fun.
Nice.
So I'm sorry I missed last week's thing, but I listened to it and it was good. You did a good job.
Well, you know, I had been researching that little case for a little while and I had my notes
Yep.
and then I would just read them and then I would just tell the story. I did go through some dates, but
Yep.
I feel and I bet everybody can tell that I get hung up like I really want to get all the details, but I'm better off just telling you the story. And if
Yes.
you want the
Yep.
details, you probably should just look them up because I'm not a first of all, I'm super ADD. So I watched this TikTok recently,
Yeah.
and this lady was describing like people that are ADD and how like we tend to interrupt,
Is
which
that the
I
one I
do.
sent you?
It could have been I interrupt all the time, and it's just
No.
because I feel like I have to say it before I forget it
Yeah.
because if I wait too long, it's just gone.
Yeah.
And
I
so
have that feeling too.
I hate that I do that and I really need to stop that. But I'm like, oh my God, that's totally me. That's why I need to do it. Or like a lot of times, like an action I need to do, whether it's like take the clothes out of the laundry and blah, 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 blah. Like I need to do that now while I remember
Yes.
because it'll be 5 hours later when I'm like, oh, dang it, I forgot to do that. Like,
Okay, don't you think all moms have that? Because we're always doing 5 million things at one time. And if we forget, if we don't do something right now, we're not gonna remember to do it because we're constantly having 6 things to do or
yeah,
5
it
things
may
to do.
be.
I don't know. I feel like I've
Yeah.
gotten definitely more that way as I've aged because I'm trying to shove 10 pounds of flour into a 5-pound sack all the time and I'm
Yeah.
burning daylight, right? Like I'm like, all
Right.
right, we got to get this done. We got to go through this. So I don't know that that's necessarily only ADHD people because I don't think I have that. Although maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe we all have degrees of it, but I
Well,
certainly
and Ella
know.
says I plan every minute of my day and I don't leave any much room for error. So if like
Yes,
it takes too
me
long,
too.
it's now affected the rest of my day. And I had like this whole list of things to do. And after today, after doing this,
Yes.
there's only one more thing on my list, but I'm not going to get to it today.
What is
But
it?
that's okay.
Ripping out the whole bathroom and re-drywalling? Like
No,
what?
that is on my list, but it's not for today. But I was going to go to my friend's mom's house to help her rip out ivy.
And by the way, y'all, this is a Saturday night at 7 o'clock that we're recording. So you were planning on doing this after we
Well, no,
recorded
I'm
or
not going to
no?
get I'm not going to be
Okay.
able to get to it today, but that was on my list
Okay.
to do today. I've mentioned to her that I wanted to help her.
Okay.
And I feel bad that it's been like a week and a half or 2 weeks even now that and the ivy's still there, it's not going anywhere, but
Yeah.
I don't want her to do it all herself either. I want to help her.
Well,
Anyway, something
you
stupid.
have a small basketball team. So why don't you just take the basketball team with you, the kids, and y'all go over there and hammer that out in an hour?
I should, but
And with headlamps, you could do it tonight after our call with headlamps.
we could. Don't rats live in ivy?
Yes, they
Yeah,
do.
so I don't know if I want to be out there with headlamps
Oh my gosh. Yes,
and
they
you
do.
kind of got your like what's this twang going on, y'all?
Oh, I do? Y'all?
Yeah.
Did I say y'all?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, my whole family's from Texas and like I would kind of forget, because I'm the only I am the only Oregonian.
Yes.
But then my mom would call home
Oregon.
every once in a while, and then she'd get off the phone. All of a sudden, her Texas twang was back for a while. Like it lasts for a while, but she'd be like, you know,
So my
doing her
daughter and
Dixie
I
chicks. Yeah,
try to talk in a British accent. I don't know why. It just happened. Anyways, and her friend. And she has picked up this amazing Australian accent instead of the British. And
mm,
they're similar, right?
yeah,
But I'm always like, okay, you are amazingly good at that Australian accent and you can't speak British, can you? She's like, no, I can't. It just goes right into Australian. But she has like a talent for foreign languages. So I think she just has an ability. Like if she probably went to England for a while, she'd pick it up really easily. I have really don't have any of that.
Well,
So
one of my friends that we work at the closet on Saturday mornings,
yes.
and she came to volunteer today, and she's from South Africa. And so she's always like, "Hello." I'm like,
Yes.
"Hello." It's so
Hello.
hard to like talk to somebody with an accent without like trying to throw it
Yes.
back at them. But
Yes.
and then it's funny trying to get her to talk like me.
Yeah.
And
Does
it's
she
really hard
try?
for her. She can't. It's like, and then we just laugh because I end up just talking or try to talk like her or
Yeah.
mimicking what she's saying. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny.
'Cause it's
Anyway.
so cute and so I don't know, it's fun. I do like accents. Well, so do you wanna hear my story? You wanna know how it came about too?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Have I told you about my voice crush on Keith Morrison from Dateline NBC?
No.
Have I not? Oh my god,
No, I
okay.
don't think so.
So, I think my true crimeness sort of started through lots of Dateline, 2020, all those kinds of shows. I love Keith Morrison's voice. I just think he has a great voice, and I like some of the other Dateline people, but I love, 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 love his voice. So I listened to Mommy Doomsday, which is about Lori Vallow from him, and then his newest trailer popped up on my podcast feed, and I'm like, oh, I must listen to this. And it was called The Killer Role. And so I was in the process of waiting because each week a new thing would come out, right? It was like a series. And I was like, oh, I'm going to cover that. And I was thinking I was going to cover it this week. Well, as you know, because I bailed on you on Friday, I had a crazy busy week and I was doing a presentation for a client and I just never got to the actual research. Like I knew the story, but I needed to get names, I needed to get dates, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't really know even how the story turned out yet. But my friend, shout out to the Aimster, she sends me a link that says this killer role, this woman who I'd been listening to, Keith Morrison, tell me about, was going to be on Dateline last night. So we're recording on Friday. It was going to be on Saturday or Friday night, and it was a local Grants Pass woman. And I'm like, shut up. This was the story I was going to do this week. So I had kind of thought, oh, well, maybe I won't do it, whatever. But then I was like, oh no, this is the universe's sign to tell me to do this. So this is how this whole thing came about and my love of Keith Morrison. Okay. Have you heard about the Southern Oregon woman who she says in self-defense accidentally killed her uncle?
No.
Okay. So there's a young woman in Southern Oregon that goes by the name of Wynn Reed. And she shows up at a Grants Pass theater production. And the whole staff, the other actors, the crew is just blown away. They're like, oh my gosh, she's really good. What are you doing right now?
Sorry. I was trying to turn on a different light.
It's distracting when we're on YouTube for all you listeners
Sorry.
because I'm seeing her do something. I'm like, what is she doing now? You weren't
Sorry.
making noise this time, so that's good. Anyway, she shows up and she just blows them all away. She's like really good at the acting thing. And she clearly has talent. And these people are like, where did she come from? Like, why don't we know her? And one of the gals in the production, one of the actors, was like, she kind of looks familiar. And I remember this girl in high school, last name Reed too, but she had blonde hair. This girl's first name is different, like, kind of a coincidence, but whatever. And she didn't say anything. Well, Wynn was really kind of charismatic and she was talented, but she also had this woman that would like come along with her, kind of like her handler, like she's some big wig, actress or something. And she introduces this woman to people and refers to them as her friend at first. And then eventually she refers to this woman as her aunt. And this woman's name is Kelly. So people are finding this a little odd. And when she goes to negotiate like her salary or whatever, like this handler gets involved and it just becomes kind of weird because everybody's like, look, this is a small town production. Like, we don't have any money. In fact, Keith Morrison goes into the story, if you're interested, about it's a dad and a daughter who he basically spends his life savings putting this theater production together because he and his daughter wrote it together and they decide they're going to, turn this into a live play. And so it's just a small town thing, but they're doing a good job of it. And so it was kind of weird for her to show up kind of with this little bit of an attitude, right? A little bit of a prima donna thing. And so, anyways, the she gets the role, she gets the main role, and the main role, this is a thriller, by the way, it's kind of a horror thriller show, but the main character actually in the program kills somebody with a handgun, which is going to become kind of interesting later. But come to find out, Wynn, her full name is actually Aisling Tucker Moore hyphen Reed. So she has 4 names. And now she's going by Wynn. But this didn't come out until everyone found out. She actually went by Tucker Reed, by the way. And when the gal that was in the production was like, yeah, that was the girl. Like, okay, this is the girl. She's changed her like look and everything. And the girl was also like, I remember her mother used to show up with her to all the high school productions with huge suitcases for hair and makeup, and she'd do all of her hair and makeup like she was some big thing, right? So the mom was a bit overbearing, but Tucker at the time seemed to really enjoy it. And even now that Tucker has changed her name to Wynn, she seems to enjoy having her mother there and kind of like her, like she's a big thing, right? Well, and she also went to Grants Pass High School.
And she
And
said this was her aunt, though?
she did.
Okay.
She said it was a friend, then she said it was an aunt.
But
Um,
it's really her mom all along.
it was her mother all along. So people are coming to understand that there's a lot more to Wynn than first meets the eye. When filming was complete, and I should say there's a side story to this that I don't want to delve too much into, but there's a side story that one of the nights when they were going to perform, Wynn calls, or her handler, her mother calls and says she can't come in. She is in the hospital and she's on oxycodone. So she won't be in for tonight's production. And they're like, wait, what? Like, this is kind of a big deal because now the second in line, what are they called? I can't remember. The understudy has to take over and everything. Well, she shows up anyways and like wants to perform anyways. And they're like, wait, you were on oxycodone supposedly with painkillers and you're showing up and we were told you weren't coming and like, and she was just like, what's your deal? Like, I'm here and I'm ready to do this and whatever. And they were like, no, you're not going to perform.
It was
Like,
like she wanted them to pick her
yeah, just kind of weird.
again.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of weird behavior, right? Well, so what happens is we find out that Ainsley Tucker Moore Reed had actually been charged with a real life shooting and the death of her uncle Shane. The crew and staff, of course, had no idea that she was being investigated at the time that she was doing this production and that she was facing charges for her death. So the story unfolds in 2016 at her grandmother's house in rural Jackson County, which is about 5 miles west of Medford. Now it's pretty 5 miles outside of Medford. Will become part of the story here because it was a little remote, right? It wasn't in town. And this is when Ainsley Moore Reed, going by Tucker, she shoots and kills her uncle, Shane P. Moore, on July 26th. But by August, she was arrested and she posted bail. She remained out on bail until August of 2018. And the way she was finally, or after she was, the reason she was finally arrested is because new video evidence from her cell phone was obtained by her defense team and they sent it to the prosecution. Now, I never heard or really understand how they got the video, but let me tell you kind of what unfolded the day of the shooting. So her mother and she tell the story that they were at their grandmother's house, or her Kelly, her mother, her mother's house and Tucker's grandmother's house. And they were there with a notary that Shane had hired to come over because grandma was going to sign a new will. And this is what Kelly says she was told, is that she was going to sign a new will. So as they are sitting there, apparently Shane, who is an ex-drug addict, lives on property with grandma, or mom, his mom, and has had a falling out with Kelly, Tucker's mom, for years. Like, she has nothing nice to say about him. They all hate him. He's a drug addict. He's a mooch. He lives off grandma. Although, keep in mind that Kelly, Shane's sister, also lives in a house that grandma or mom owns in Medford. So both kids living on grandma's properties, one in the city, one out in this rural area where she also lives. And they've not gotten along for years. And Ainsley Tucker, sorry, I should be calling her Tucker because she went by Tucker. She has also filed charges against Shane that he threatened her. And this was months earlier. So she actually has a restraining order against him. And he's kind of like, at this point, and we know this because of the video evidence, he's just kind of loitering outside the patio and everything. And when Kelly, the daughter, Tucker's mother, had also been a lawyer. And as she and the notary are sitting there at the table, she says to the notary, and I can't remember what it was called, but the notary brings out this form that needs to be signed. And Kelly says, no, that's not what she's supposed to be signing. That gives the I think it's a power of attorney to Shane and Kelly right away for mom's property, says that they will share it. So she starts freaking out, telling mom that this is giving Shane her property. And she just starts raising holy hell, even though this paperwork actually doesn't say that it's just to Shane. Kelly starts saying it does to mom. Well, mom is easily confused. She's clearly older, and mom's just like, what's kind of going on, right? And there's this just big production, like a big scene, right? Well, all of a sudden, Shane now kind of, I think, sees what's going on, maybe can hear through the windows, not really sure. He comes to the back door. And then there's yelling. Kelly's like, get the F out of here. You don't belong here, blah, blah, blah. But Kelly goes to the door to her brother. Tucker, at this time, picks up a gun on the table that is nearby. And there's an altercation supposedly at the back door, and she shoots her uncle. She and her mother, Kelly, say it was in self-defense, that he was trying to come in the door. He wasn't really supposed to be there because Tucker was there and there was a restraining order. And he was trying to hurt Kelly, and it was self-defense, and Tucker shot and killed him. I should have noted earlier that earlier in the morning, Shane had called 911 and said, hey, my niece, Tucker, just fired some shots from my mother's house towards me. I don't know why she's doing that. She's angry. Somebody needs to come out here. Well, police didn't come out because it was a rural area and they didn't think there was imminent danger. So they didn't come out. So now fast forward. Now she's actually killed him. So the notary freaks out. She calls 911 and 911's like, who shot him? Notary's like, I don't know. Somebody did. Well, where's the gun? I don't know. Whose gun is it? I don't know. And they start helping or telling the notary to start giving chest compressions. And Kelly, the notary's kind of trying to like piece this together and everything. And Kelly, the mom, can be heard in the background saying, die already, die. Yes. And Tucker can be heard in the background saying, you told me I should do it. You told me I could do it. So she's sending a message. She's saying in the background to mom, you told me to kill him. You told me I could shoot him. And Kelly's saying, die, die.
And Kelly
So
is the daughter.
Kelly is the daughter. She is Shane's sister. So mom's daughter. Exactly. So clearly, when they get this video from Tucker, and this is the interesting part when you watch the video, and you can watch it online. Tucker is clearly staging her cell phone so to see that Shane, her uncle, is outside, and she's narrating it. So she's like, why is Shane outside? He's not supposed to be outside. I have a restraining order against him. He's just loitering. What's he doing? He's being erratic. He wasn't being erratic. He was being pretty calm, but he was loitering outside of the house. I think to make sure maybe that everything was going okay. I don't really know. I mean, I'm not giving this guy a pass like he's a great guy. Have no clue, right? All I know is when I listen to the video and I watch the video, I'm like, oh, yeah, she's setting this whole thing up. And then she gets up, she goes towards the door. You hear get out of here, get out of here. You don't hear anything aggressive from him. And then you hear the shots. And then you do hear him moaning. You hear Kelly saying, die. And you hear Tucker saying, you told me I could. So everyone is investigated. Kelly and Tucker are both taken down to the station, and they both have almost the same exact story, as though investigators said it seemed premeditated. Like they had their story. This is our story, and this is what we both say. And if we both say it, they can't do anything about it, right? So it's very scripted in what they said. And even mom, when she was interviewed, it was clear that she was a little bit confused, because she said, she was like, well, I don't really know. Well, this is what they told me. Well, I don't think so. She was defending everyone because she was confused. She's like, well, this is what Kelly said, and this is what Tucker said, that, she was defending herself. And so mom was just like confused. She wasn't too much of a help. And the notary wasn't much help, because she didn't see the altercation at the door until the shots rang out, right? She's there to do notary. And everyone else thinks that the purpose was so that there was an outside person there. There was somebody else present. So Tucker, at the time of the shooting, claims that her uncle was a squatter and that he had assaulted her, thus getting the restraining order. And she also says that he had threatened her and her mother. And the day of the shooting, the notary was at the family home to notarize those legal papers. And there was also this ongoing family dispute that the mom, Kelly, and her brother, Shane, was in at the time. So, when I listen to the interview tapes of Tucker, she is putting on a very righteous show, very good acting. I should say that a little bit tongue in cheek, because she could just turn on the waterworks. And I was like, oh, this does sound fake. Like she didn't even seem concerned about it. But it's very clear to everyone that the two adult siblings had been at odds for years over money, mom's estate, and her mom, having been a lawyer, also really plays that up in her interviews. Their stories aligned, right? But investigators were not convinced. They were like, this seems staged. Their stories seem too much alike. They really did not go off script. And they were pretty sure that Tucker killed him out of spite instead of really out of him attacking anyone. I should also note that Shane's friend was also on the property at the time, and he's the one who actually started chest compressions. Kelly did not. The notary was on the phone. The notary was telling him what to do. And so he did die on the scene. And the video evidence is what happened. This all kind of happened. Also, I should say, Dateline notes that they had kind of put off telling this story because of some of this video evidence. But anyways, the video evidence comes out and it confirms to investigators what they thought they already knew, that this was pretty much an elaborate plan to get rid of brother Shane and to leave mom's estate to her. So now Kelly has full estate power. They end up, Kelly, the mom, because she's been a lawyer, ends up suing Jackson County. And I can't remember what the reason was for, because Tucker, this was the other interesting thing. Tucker had actually asked for a lawyer and they said, okay, great. We'll get you a lawyer. That means this interview is over. And they went out. Well, then Tucker gets their attention on video and asks them to come back in and she starts talking. So Mom Kelly sues Jackson County or Medford, I think, saying that she had already asked for an attorney and that anything she said was not valid. But that was also thrown out. Sued Jackson County because they said she talked after she asked for a lawyer, but she actually asked for them to come back in, and she's the one who started talking. So she pretty much sealed the deal for herself. They had no evidence until they found her video. And they had actually taken her phone, I should say, when they first took them down to the station, but they couldn't get into it because they didn't have her passcode. So somehow this video then 2 years later gets given to the defense lawyers of Tucker. And then the defense lawyers give it to the prosecution. And the prosecution says, we got her. We're going to prosecute her now. So she has now went in, they rearrested her. Her bail was revoked or not given back to her with these new charges. And she will stand trial for the death of her uncle. So
what about her mom?
Her mom, at this time, she has no charges against her. It's clear to me she's involved, and unless Tucker throws her mom under the bus, her mom will probably get away with everything.
How old is she?
Her mom or Tucker?
Tucker.
I think Tucker is in her late 20s.
Okay.
So I would assume, I don't remember actually, that mom is probably about 50, little bit older than 50, but the next episodes that Keith Morrison's going to do, he talks to the dad because in the research that I did and the readings that I did, it sounds like dad, when mom and dad divorced, it was kind of a very tumultuous, again, very, Kelly's a very litigious, very smart woman, but she very much manipulated, got the kids moved from California back up to Oregon, even though dad said, no, I don't want my kids to go. She got the judge to okay it. She was able to move the kids, and he really hasn't had a great relationship with Kelly this entire time. And he, I think, was even in some of the paperwork that he actually said something bad. I'm afraid something bad's going to happen if my kids stay with their mother. But of course, that just sounded like a bitter dad who was getting his kids taken away from him. And so I just do not get a good sense that the mom, I think she's a really angry, kind of vindictive person. And I think Tucker may be too, and just not that bright. They just thought she was just this really great actor that could just pull this off. I don't know why people do these crazy things. Can you imagine?
They're just crazy.
Yes. And it seemed all very planned. So that is my story. I'm going to be watching the story as it unfolds. I can't wait to hear what the dad has to say, but From things that I read, Dad said, I'm sure it's just going to be kind of more of the same. Like he was like, dude, my ex-wife is a little intense, you know? So yeah, that's it.
Yikes.
Have you heard of this story at all?
No, I haven't heard it at
No.
all. Actually, it doesn't even like sound familiar.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
Well, there's I wanted to ask you first, like of anything that you can think of, what is terrifying?
Oh,
But what scares you?
you know what? My kids, I don't even want to say
Something
the word.
happening to them?
Yes, something bad happening to my
Well, that
kids.
scares me too. But like let's just like I'm thinking like when I think of things that are really scary, I think stalking can be very
Oh,
scary. And I
yes.
think irrational people are super scary.
Yes.
So along those lines, like do like
Yes.
ghosts scare you? Do
No, I don't think
no?
ghosts scare me. I think unpredictable people scare me.
It's I
Yes.
think just mental illness can be super scary.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to ask you if you have heard of the name Joshua Lee Webb.
No.
Does that ring a bell at all?
No.
Well, this would be around Mother's Day, and let me try to figure out what year, 2017.
Okay.
So this would
Let me go
be
into my database. Okay.
okay, 2017. Which would that be like 4 years ago?
Yes.
Um, so this woman, it's on Sunday morning. She's gonna go see her mom for Mother's Day,
Okay.
and she brings her kids along,
Okay.
and they go into the house. And this is a very short story because there's not much to it because
Okay.
this guy is just insane.
Yeah.
She goes into the house. I don't know if it's a house. It could be a trailer. It could be mobile home. I don't know for sure. But she walks into the house and finds her mom laying on the ground, and she is dead, and she is missing her head. Around that same time, as she's calling 911, trying to get her kids out of the house, this guy, Joshua Lee Webb,
He's
walks
still
into
in
a
the
little
house?
market in Estacada. Remember this? Holding his mom's head. Happy Mother's Day.
Oh,
He's so crazy. He even stabs one of the workers there. And I'm like, I mean, and then the case is closed. Obviously, he had killed his mom. He's holding her head, which is not funny. Again, I laugh because it's just terrible. But
yes.
and but what a terrible way
Okay,
to find your
wait,
mom
slow
in the
down.
ground. Yeah,
I
sorry.
do not remember this story.
Yeah.
But
So
you're
I
telling
remember this
me
guy walking
he
into the
chopped
store.
what you're telling
Yeah.
me is her brother, this gal who shows up for Mother's Day, her brother chopped the mother's head off,
Yes.
walks it down like in a bag
So I don't
by
know
its
if
hair,
he was carrying the mom's head. And so he didn't say, I'm guessing by the
like a
hair.
baby, like
No, no, I think he's like pulling it.
oh my
So
god.
he's had a history of schizophrenia and
Okay.
voices. He hears voices and what was the other thing? I was paranoid, all of this stuff, right? And
Okay.
things have gotten worse and worse over time. And then within the week of his mom dying, she had said he's been doing kind of some crazy things around the house. Like, and then I don't know what happened that night that just set him off. He's at a mental hospital now. He does go in
Oh
for
my
a release.
gosh.
Let's see, not release, but I think he gets. So this is I don't know anything about if you get sentenced to a mental hospital, but they go in and they do like evaluations.
Yes.
So if you are proven that you're like kind of really or
Better.
better, or that maybe the medicine that you're working, like does he just go home or does he go to a prison at that point? Like
Or does he go to like a
a
self
halfway
or
house?
like a halfway house?
But you
I
still
have no
committed that
idea.
murder, but because you're insane, does it not count as like I don't know how that works, but
I don't
obviously to get,
either.
got caught. But this is what I mean, like about mental
Okay, so
illness.
let's go back to the event though.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about like okay, so he comes in with the mother's head and he says, "This is my mother's head," or does he
No, I
like
think he just came in, he was acting crazy, and
okay.
then he ended up with a he
Were
walked
these
into
people
here it is.
freaked out?
Joshua Webb then shows up at Thriftway in downtown Estacada, about 12 miles north. He enters a small grocery store. He was covered in blood and had a large kitchen type knife and was carrying what appeared to be a severed head, authorities
Oh
said.
my
He
gosh.
began stabbing an employee, but he was quickly overwhelmed by other employees that held him until police came.
Okay, so
So
the
yeah.
employee, is she okay?
It didn't. It just said they was sad. It doesn't sound like they. I think it wasn't written in the article that that person passed away.
Okay.
But
Oh
oh gosh,
my
this is crazy
gosh.
too. He said once he got put in custody, he's was like in a catatonic state, which I've known somebody who's been in that sort of state.
Uh-huh.
And then once he came to, he goes, I had a nice nap. But like his eyes are open, but he's like just like out of it. Like he's like catatonic. But I've known
Oh
somebody
my
who was kind of
gosh.
in that same state, eyes open and everything,
So he
was
must have
fully
drove.
was that?
He must have drove with the
So 12
head.
miles, right?
Like, what
Because you
was he
wouldn't be able to
planning
walk
to
down this.
do? Use the deli to, like, slice it up or what?
Well, I don't think somebody like that's in their right mind to
I
even
don't
even know what
either.
he was doing. What was he doing there anyway? But do you know where this thriftway is?
I
Like,
don't
this is
think
on the way to Mount
so.
Hood.
Well, I think I know where Estacada is, but I don't exactly know where that Thriftway is. Do you?
Well, I think when I go up there, there's a Thriftway and a Safeway that I go to. There's a Fred Meyer's. Like, there's really just not many big stores
Yeah.
around there. So it's got to be like in that little
Oh
bend.
my
Like,
gosh.
yeah. So
Well, he
happy
must have
Mother's Day.
driven. Oh my gosh.
But I
That
do
is a
think, like,
horrific.
I think what scares me would be like irrational people. And I know that I've mentioned this before, but how my cousin, Michael's cousin, was
Yes.
shot
Yes.
6 times in a restaurant parking lot by somebody he didn't know. And about he did like it was just this
Do we know
weird.
why? So it was random?
It was kind of random. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay.
And it was proven that his arms were up when he was shot, and the guy was trying to claim self-defense, and
Uh,
which was ridiculous because I don't know all the technical trajectory of the
yeah.
bullets proved that his arms were up. There's a
Oh.
way he couldn't have like shot back, or he didn't even have a weapon on him, but he was just sentenced to 20 years. And so I know the family was Michael's family was really hoping for at least 1 year for every year that Larry was alive, which would have been at that time 34 years,
Yeah.
which is kind of scary because like in 20 years
20
from now,
years? The guy could still be alive
right? So let's
and
just
get
say
out of
he's our
prison.
age, right? He's
Yeah.
going to be, then I'm like, okay, what does that mean for our family once he gets out?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because he's sort of like, I
Well,
think a
does he have
gangbanger type.
Oh, does he really have a grudge against you? Like, that wasn't the guy he meant to kill. This was just a
Well,
guy
if
sort
he
of caught in
already
the
was trying to
crossfire.
claim self-defense, it didn't work. Like, do we have to worry? Like, if he was willing to kill somebody he didn't know because of him, like, because he was in a jealous rage.
I think only if you guys continue to try to keep him in jail or get him back in jail, that's probably when he's gonna potentially have an issue. But otherwise, like, you guys didn't have anything to do
Just
with it.
people
This
like that
guy
is,
didn't.
but
Yeah.
okay, so we have nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah.
No big deal. Neither did our cousin.
Yes. Exactly.
So
Okay, so
those
I'm
are,
watching Ozark. Have
yeah.
you watched Ozark?
Well, I've watched it to where the point where they were building the church and then he's trying to tell him to stop building their church.
Yes. Okay. Well, I had tried to start watching it one other time, couldn't get into it. Finally, now I'm into it. And the reason I don't like these kind of stories is because you have a lot of irrational people that just want to hurt someone and clearly don't care. Like, they have no real remorse about hurting people, torturing people. Like, that is very, very scary. The no remorse, I don't get that. And solving one problem with another, killing or death or treatment of another, like, wow, that's just beyond
Well,
my
those people
comprehension.
must be really good at disconnecting,
Yes.
like, and not seeing it as a person. And I mean, it's crazy because that is a show. And that's one thing those kind of shows like, oh my God, how are they going
Yeah.
to get out of it? And they get out of it. And then they're in another situation and
Yes.
it leads to another one and it stresses me out, but I
Yes.
love them at the same time.
See, I didn't used to. I was telling my husband, like, I didn't used to like those shows because I don't like seeing people make one bad decision on top of another bad decision.
Yeah.
And that's what this whole show is really about. And I'm like, dude, how are you going to stay alive? Like, the fact that you're still alive is pretty amazing, but how are you going to get out of this? Like, I don't see how this ends well for you.
Yeah. Or your family. How does, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like, just the story that I was just telling you, like, okay, so you thought you wanted to get rid of your brother and have your daughter shoot him and kill him. And now, yeah, you get all the money, but now you're having to watch your daughter go through this. Like, is there enough money in the world for you to A, put your daughter in this situation, B, the potential that she will be found guilty, and how shitty do you feel? There's just not enough money in the world for me to set my kid up for that either. Like, no way.
Well, tonight we're going to watch a scary movie.
Of course you are.
Well, the other night we did see The Strangers. Have you seen that?
No.
Never say there's two different variations of it. One
Okay.
was with Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
That was like 2008, and then there's a more recent one. And but it was based on a true story. And
Hmm.
so I kind of like researched what was that real story behind it. And so part of it was the guy had probably morphed in a few and then added his own like twist to things.
Mhm.
But one was from Helter Skelter,
Mm.
like the whole Charles Manson, how like
Mhm.
somebody just randomly shows up at this house and like kills everybody. And like no real motive, no reason. It just happened. And then the other one was the Keddie cabin murders. Have you heard of that?
Keddie or Kennedy?
Keddie.
Keddie, no.
So Keddie cabins were in it's in northern California. And we can get into that story a little bit later if you want, but this woman, she leaves her abusive husband who's in Connecticut, moves to Keddie. This it's like a little resort with little cabins that you can rent.
Okay.
And I think it's lower income. Like these are people like it's in the woods, deep in the woods. And she has her 5
Nope.
kids. Okay, so here she's got a 15-year-old son, John. She's got a 14-year-old daughter, Sheila, a 12-year-old daughter, Tina, and 2 younger sons, Rick and Greg. So there's 5. So you've got 2 girls, 3 boys. The oldest one is a boy. Then you got the 2 girls in the middle, and then the 2 younger sons. So it sounds like a lot of people live in these little cabins. And I think partly it's like off the grid. I don't know if she's trying to get away from the husband or if this is just a cheap place to go. I know it was near her uncle is why she moved there originally, because she knew somebody in that area, and then she was able to get on her feet and move to this cabin. And then I think there was somebody living in the cabin that she eventually moved to, but when he moved out, she was able to transfer in. And I believe it was a 2-bedroom, and it also had like a basement that I think her older son could access through the outside without having to go through the house.
Right.
Now, it's kind of confusing because like the kids are coming and going, and like the 2 younger or the 2 daughters leave at some point to go to one of the neighboring cabins to hang out with their friends. Then one daughter returns in the evening and realizes that her mom and her older brother and her brother's friend are all murdered. They're in the living room
Mm.
and they're dead. And this isn't even it's not super long time ago. Let me see. 1981. So it wasn't like super, long
Some
time
of
ago,
our
but
listeners weren't born then, but that's okay.
yeah. It's I guess I was like what,
Yeah.
9. But
Yes.
so they were in the living room, and so there's okay, and then the 2 younger brothers are
Yes.
still in their rooms with another friends that spent the night, and they're untouched. They slept through the whole thing. And so there's all these different like ideas of what had happened that night. And there's all these theories out there. As of right now, they still don't know what happened. They had, kind of people of interest, but
Yeah.
like some of them were saying maybe it was the father of the younger sons that were in the
Right.
room had a friend over. They were saying it could have been his father because the mothers were good friends and the
Okay.
father was sort of abusive to her friend's mom. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
And
And
so she
so
was
she
like, "Hey,
was
I left
tricked.
my marriage,
Yeah.
like, you could do this too." And so there was, like, rumors that maybe the father had come and killed him, and that's why they left the boys alone. I mean, nobody really knows, but the mother was found, like, naked from the waist down, but she
What?
was also, found with, like, a blanket laying over her. And then what they were saying is a lot of times when somebody has an emotional connection to somebody,
Mhm.
they kind of, like, cover them up, they do that.
Yeah.
But what they did find too, which was terrible, is they found, I believe, her underwear and a bandana shoved in her mouth. And I believe it was taped or it was covered of somehow, but that's how far down in her throat it was.
Oh my
And to
gosh.
say that it wasn't like a sexual nature, she was naked from the waist down.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember
Unless she
how
was in the
this.
shower or something prior or getting
Well,
dressed. Maybe she was taking her clothes off, getting her pajamas on.
okay, so that's what somebody said. The younger brothers were in and out, or the two brothers and the oldest brother with a friend, they were sort of in and out throughout the night.
Yeah.
Well, they were saying, what if the mom was being attacked and the
Right.
two ones came home?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to mention. Sorry. The older daughter came home that next morning, and that's how she found everybody, right?
Yes.
The younger daughter had come home the night before, but she was missing. They couldn't find her.
Oh God.
And so, sorry, that was a big point I forgot to mention. So the two younger brothers, a friend is in the bedroom.
Yes.
The older brother, the mom, and the brother's friend are found in the living room.
Okay.
The daughter's missing. That her name was Tina, and I
Wait, she's
believe
still missing?
no. Okay, they did find her a few years later. I think 3 years, almost to the day later, and Tina was 12 years old. They did find her 50 miles away because somebody called in and told them where she was,
Like her body?
like her skeleton, like her and so, like, that had to have been the person who did it, right? Like,
Yes.
but they were saying, so what if this mom was being sexually assaulted? These two boys came home, went to protect her, and now they have to kill everybody to like witnesses.
Okay. But they would have checked that body out. They'd know if she was being sexually abused.
Well, they would. There's like this, I mean,
They didn't
everything's kind of
tell.
weird. Like I was watching or listening to this podcast and he's really good. He must be some sort of investigator too, because he's like, okay, so there's these different things of evidence like all over the place. I'd be testing this, I'd be testing that. Like
What's his name? What's the podcast?
okay, it was I'm actually finishing up that one right
Okay.
now. He was it's called The Murder Squad.
Okay.
And I don't know, it doesn't look like there's it's just called the Keddie Cabin Murders.
Huh.
And then I also watched this YouTube where these guys had gone to the Keddie cabin.
Oh,
That particular one is like it's all broken
been
down. Like it's not there
demolished.
anymore because so many people kept going back for that reason. And honestly, like it's been so long, but when they were driving there, like you're in like the deep woods. It's kind of
Oh,
like remember the big huge tree on the Oregon coast that people would go and see?
yes.
But you had to, like, kinda drive in, and then you had to, like, kinda walk to it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would even wanna go in those woods knowing that the whole family had been murdered,
Yeah.
but, I mean, there's
Ugh.
all kinds of stories, but I was like, that is, like
So is there any, do they have any leads, any suspects for that?
well, if they do, they're not saying it right now, but they were saying this guy was saying that there was, some DNA that didn't match a particular person they do have their eyes on, but that
Okay.
he didn't say if it did match somebody else that they do know of, like
Okay.
so everything's kind of, like, crazy, but, I mean, this
Did
is
she have a
why
boyfriend or?
no, and I always thought, like, it was hard to, like, get the point across, like, was it her ex-husband? Like, he was
Yeah.
already terrible, and, supposedly, he's on the East Coast and has an alibi, but, like
But like he would take his daughter and kill her, like probably wouldn't do that. Probably wouldn't kill his
no,
son.
right.
And
Yeah,
then if the little girl was, well, they won't be able to tell because it's just her skeleton. If she was sexually abused, like,
and can
yeah,
you kill 3 people and abduct another and only be one person?
good question. Well, if she came in after it happened. So like those three people, like if it would happen, boom, 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 and then she came home and he grabbed her.
Was she the target the whole why would he take her? Why wouldn't he just kill her in the house too?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So this
Because
is
he
like
likes little girls? I don't know.
like when you go and stay in these little places, like camping and
Yeah.
stuff, like you need
Yeah,
to
I
be really
know.
careful, Melissa. Like
I
there
know.
are little super crazy people out
That
there.
just snap. But I think that most of the time, what I've heard is stranger on stranger is very rare. It
Okay,
is
but what if like
mostly.
she did know him? Like, or what if like you're camping and you got to know the
Okay,
people
let's
in
not bring up
school?
the camping thing. Let's not do
I
that. Like,
see,
don't freak
this
me
is like it
out.
freaks me out totally because you just
No,
don't know.
let's not talk about that. That is not appropriate.
I watch way too many things that freak me out, but I'm gonna watch another movie tonight, so
Yes, you are.
I'm not too scared. Like, I don't know.
I'm not too
I think
scared. You
my
love being
my
scared.
poor daughter though, like she's so scared to go off to college now.
Okay,
She has another year. I said most of the time,
okay.
like we're ready to go,
Yeah.
right? We want to go do things.
That's not true. My daughter was very scared. Her last year is when she got excited.
Okay.
And I will tell you, God bless you. I hope it doesn't happen. But that last year was also very hard for her and I. We did not get along a lot. And I think that was her way of pulling apart so that she could go away. And I kept saying, look, you can come home on the weekends, like this will be fine, you're gonna love it, but she definitely was not ready her junior year, and quite frankly I wasn't sure she was going to be ready by her senior year, but something clicked in her over her senior year and she was fully ready. And maybe it was the other people, like her other um other friends that were getting excited about going to college, but there's a whole like excitement for all these kids,
Well,
picking
there
their
probably
school.
was when there was school.
Well, that's true, but hopefully they're going to be back in school.
Yeah. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
see. I don't know. I think
When did your kids started, right?
we're all online now. I mean, we
Okay.
chose to do that all year.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're
And
staying
she
and
really
then,
likes it. So that's the other part that's scary
oh,
because she was already had like anxiety. So I worry that
okay.
she could get accepted into a really good college, but may not want to go. Like, and that's fine. She can
I
go
would,
local
I
or
would encourage, I was just going to say, I would encourage her to go local.
I still want
Um,
her to apply to a couple of the big ones just to see
Yeah, just
if
to
we
say,
got
of
in. But
course, sure. But there's really prestigious schools here, and I have to say my daughter's roommate, her freshman year, had a really hard time. In fact, crying the night before she was getting in the car to leave for school. And school was only an hour and a half away, but she did not, she had never had really anxiety before, but she had anxiety that whole first term and she ended up going home after the first term. She really worked hard at staying. They wouldn't give her a parking spot. Like we were all like, dude, give her a car. But the school would not give her a parking spot, nowhere to park it. So it became that didn't work out. But anyways, she has now enrolled in at University of Portland, where both of her parents went, which is 13 miles from home. And I just think that is a perfect fit for her because it's a very prestigious school. It's a very smart school, and she will just be a drive away from home. And her
yeah,
parents can come up very easily. And I know it doesn't sound like a long ways being an hour and a half. And I remember not having a car down at school, not having a lot of money. I couldn't like hop on a bus or, take a flight or get a ride or, whatever. And sometimes it was very isolating. So I can feel for those kids who have anxiety. And I would,
I know.
so
I'm like, you're just gonna go. You're gonna have fun. She's like,
yep.
you're gonna come with me. I'm like,
you're
I'll come with you, but
you're not gonna want me to come.
I go, but I'm still married. I have a husband. Like,
And
you know,
kids flying soon. Or is she already doing it?
what is it the beginning of next year?
Is she a senior?
She's a
Yes.
sophomore or junior.
She's a junior, yes. So she's taking her SAT. Oh, they're not doing SATs, are they?
Well, she's gonna take it because they said
Okay.
if you take it and you get a good score, you still want
Mhm.
to put that in, but they can't hold it against you. But the people who do really well want to submit those.
Yes.
But she is taking a bunch of AP exams and stuff right now. So
Okay,
or in the
good.
next couple weeks. So yeah, it looks great.
Well, girlfriend, I think that is it for today. It was
Yes.
great talking to
You have
you.
a good night, Melissa.
Tell our listeners that we want them to stay curious, stay suspicious, and stay open. And catch us next week because we will have some more good stories for you. And 5-star us on your favorite podcast app.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.